What a chart. That's the dog chart, the number one meme coin on Bitcoin. A lot of people give me a hard time, and that is completely cool. It really is. It's completely cool. And I'm not telling any of you or encouraging any of you to go buy dog, but this is my number 2 altcoin play for this cycle. I've been very open about that, and I want to be open about tracking how this thing plays out. And I'm curious. I'm excited. I could be wrong about it. Let's track that. And what I want to do in this video is I want to talk about the targets to the upside for dog. I want to talk about what's going on. There doesn't seem to be a ton of things going on this weekend, but dog definitely getting some hype as it's just been listed on Kraken. And I want to discuss my approach to exiting and taking profits for something like dog this cycle. So please hit the subscribe, hit the like on the way in. If you're not in our intelligence system, please join our members. At least check it out right now. Big sale, 40% off going on our exit planners, our risk models. And so we're going to have some fun with those today as it relates to speculating on what's going to happen with dog. So here's the thing. Let me just mention to you, please keep in mind, I know there's a lot of people that are just so doubtful of something like this. This is the number one coin on Bitcoin, and this is Bitcoin's first cycle of having coins on it. Not only that, we are living in a world where institutions are applying for meme coin ETFs. What has all the headlines right now? It's Bitcoin. Governments rushing to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin has so much upside in terms of just adoption and really this whole concept of scarcity. We see Dogecoin basically making its way to like $100 billion market cap last cycle. What do you think is potentially in store for this fairly distributed, non-insider, non-influencer paid coin, community-driven coin on Bitcoin? This massive thing that's really most recently outpacing Dogecoin in terms of engagement. What do you think is in store? What's in play? Again, I'm not trying to sell you on this, but I really do want to set the tone for what my thesis is here. So these targets to the upside, they look pretty nice. They look pretty crazy, but just please keep in mind, in my view, they are very much realistic, and I want to lay that case. I want to start here. Just look at the hype here. Look at the hype from Kraken yesterday. The wait is over. The dog is home. Look at the engagement. The engagement is insane on dog. The engagement is absolutely next level. So right now, shout out to Kraken. They got on board. They did it. They ran with it. They realized what's happening here with the dog movement, and they've listed dog. They're the first tier 1 exchange to spot list dog. And I couldn't think of a better exchange to do it. So definitely want to support Kraken and give them a shout out. But here's where we are. Let's start here and then let's work through this. So in terms of meme coins, dog is like, I think I just counted number 13. I do not know when the narrative will become more believable to a lot of people out there that I've been saying for like the last year, dog will flip Doge. Or at the very least, dog will contend with Doge. I don't know if it will take dog just breaking into the top 10 meme coins, top 5 meme coins. I don't know which will it be, but there will be a moment you will see it even in the headlines. All of a sudden, you will start seeing that narrative, and it's not going to be coming out of my mouth or on my posts on X. You will see dog flipping Doge, that whole narrative. I think that is going to happen this cycle. So I don't know what moment it will happen, but what I do know is the Doge context that we have is so helpful. Doge sitting, this is a Doge market cap chart, sitting at around $24 billion market cap. But here it is last cycle, pre-crazy move to like $100 billion market cap. Look at this range of like $300, $400 million market cap. Go to a dog chart. This is exactly where dog is right now. Remember, again, the number one coin on Bitcoin for an insanely bullish Bitcoin cycle like we've never seen. And a cycle where Bitcoin is consolidating at higher highs and higher lows like we've never seen. Just a steady growth. This is so good for something like dog, as just now, the domino effect, I think, from a hype perspective, tier 1 listing perspective, it's just starting. So I want to do this. I want to just show you my kind of plan and approach to dog this cycle. For me, when I'm speculating price and I'm speculating taking profits and things like that, it's very simple. I like to set these areas on the chart, and 100 billion, right? That's a dollar. That's a dollar dog. 50 billion, 20 billion, 10 billion. I probably should have marked a billion. That's a key milestone. I would say 2 billion is a milestone, 5 billion. I mean, every billion is a milestone, but these are key milestones. I like to get those areas on the chart, and then I go to the exit planner. And I know there's going to be comments like, this is a commercial for Crypto Capital Venture Intelligence. And you know what? I am just so grateful for our members that are joining. I'm building a business here. But please keep in mind, for almost 8 years, I've been just tracking my approach to all of these cycles. You saw me try and figure out how to speculate on how to exit last cycle. This is a tool that is just genuinely built for me. This is what I'm using. So I'm going to be using it in my videos, especially pre-bull market move. I think when we get into the higher risk scores, I'm not going to be using it as much, but pre-bull market move, I will absolutely be using it. So I want to go to our demo account. I have a bunch of things going on back here, but let's hit dog demo. What I did was I just put like 10 million dog in here, a very even number. And I started putting exits, right? This is the price mode. Wait until you see risk mode though. And we're going to use Dogecoin data. And I think it's going to be pretty cool. But I have a penny. That's $1 billion. Somebody out there been accumulating for the last year at 200 million, 300 million, 400, 500 million, wherever. They might want to take some profits. I encourage that. So I put a sell there. I put a $2 billion sell. I put a 5 cent, $5 billion sell. I put a 10 cent, $10 billion sell. We can do a $25 billion sell. And so the list goes on. And right now in the speculative scenario, I have 4 million dog left, 40% left to hold. It's nice. You can see what it looks like on the chart, just exiting on the way up, right? In terms of price. But it's risk mode where things become, I think, powerful. Here's the risk model that we actually have built for dog. It's tough because there's like only around a year worth of data. So we don't have like cycle data. And I think that's really where a lot of the power comes into play for a lot of the assets that we have back here, is when you can look back at last cycle and see how risk and how price kind of collided with each other and where were the best times to sell. Dogecoin, a great example. Imagine scaling out, right? Right here, this first area, 60s, 70s, starting to scale out, take a bit of profit, right? Not everything, obviously, because we're not in that high score, 97. Look at this, 80s, 90s. Imagine being alerted in Dogecoin back then from a risk model like this that's alerting you, and you have your alerts, it's emailing you. Soon we should be implementing text, but it's saying, hey, we just hit a 93. Hey, we just hit a 80. Maybe a good time to take some profits based on what you have set up. Well, here's where we are in the risk model for Doge right now. It's at a 24 in terms of it's all of this data on the screen. So even Dogecoin and pretty much most altcoins are at a very nice moderate buy area. But now I want to actually use this chart, because here is last cycle. There's Dogecoin when it was sitting at like around where Dog is now, $300-400 million market cap. And there's the move that I want to speculate on the Dog risk model. And I wanted to do something. This is very like raw experience. We have Zero, our autonomous AI that is back here. It is trained on all of our models, all of our data that's back here. But more powerfully, it's trained on, as I'm logged into my profile, it's trained on my data and what I'm doing in terms of my exit planners and all of that. So this is going to be released soon. This is a rough prototype that you see here. It's developing quick. It's going to be released soon to our members. But I wanted to go back here, and I just wanted to say, you know, in terms of planning my exits for Dog risk models, I wanted to ask Zero, what if I use Doge risk model last cycle to do that? So I already have it pasted, but I have, can you help me plan risk model exits for Dog based on what Dog did last cycle? Dog is so new, or what Doge did last cycle. Dog is so new, but I think there could be useful model data from Doge last cycle to apply to potential Dog move this cycle. So I'm going to take this plan of risk exits and I'm going to pair it up with my price speculation. This is where the unique advantage truly comes into play. So let me just send that to Zero and let's just see what Zero says. So interesting idea. Using Doge's historical patterns as a guide for planning Dog exits is a creative approach, especially if you think Dog might follow similar speculative cycles. So as it's typing that, this is exactly what I think, right? I've already laid that out on the Dog chart as it applies to the Doge chart. I think Dog is like in this environment back here with such a powerful narrative right now, right? So this is exactly what I think. Taking that data, and I'm not saying dog is going to get this exact move. It could be completely different. Maybe we do hit 100 billion, but what if it's just like a slower growth, higher highs, higher lows? I don't know what it would look like, but let's go back to see what Zero is saying. So it's saying, understand Doge's risk model data from last cycle, okay? We kind of were looking at that. High risk levels, 70 to 100, typically correlate with euphoric peak prices. And if I go look at the risk model for Doge, it's exactly it. And this is something I was thinking as it relates to dog, right? You look at Doge last cycle, look at that, topping off at 70 and consolidating. It wasn't the top, but that was a cool off area, like time to chill. Even 2 cycles ago, check this out, going to 75 and then entering the bear market. But then notice last cycle, it consolidated and then it went to that swing high into the 80s and into the 90s, like hitting 97. So what Zero is saying over here is kind of what I was already thinking. And it's saying configure dog risk-based exits in the exit planner. Risk of 70, sell 10%, and then sell 20% at 80. Risk score of 90, sell 30%. Risk score of 95, sell 40%. So this seems like a very realistic, data-driven plan. So if I go to my exit planner, we're in price mode. We just speculated. Let me just update the strategy and save that. It's the dog demo strategy. And I'm going to change it to risk mode now. So these are in here. I want to get rid of these. And Zero is basically saying to do 70, 80, 90, and 95. And I think that's a very sound approach. So I'm going to do 70. Not going to pay as much attention to the amount, but I'm going to do 80. And then what did it say? 90 and 95? 90 and then 95. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to basically save and enable notifications. So let's call it dog risk demo. Let's save that. It's going to notify me when we're hitting these levels, right? 70, 80, and I didn't save that, but 70, 80, 90, 95. So here's where it becomes powerful, because if I go back to price mode, and actually I have to go to my portfolio here and we'll open up dog demo. If I go back to this is the price plan we were kind of messing around with. And if I'm like getting an alert, right, from the risk mode that we just set up, and we kind of took some basic data, and I could sit here and brainstorm more with Zero, and this is what's so cool about this system. But if I'm like taking these exit areas and I'm getting alerted, let's say I get an alert, I get an email alert, or soon we're implementing texts. I get an alert, it's like, hey, dog risk score just hit 85. And dog is at like 5 cents, $5 billion market cap. You know what? For me, just to give you a sense of my approach here, I will go in here and I will reallocate. So this right here has like a 20% sell. I'll up that, right? I don't know if it'll be 25. It will depend on how I've kind of structured my initial exits, but I will absolutely go in here and maybe, let me actually just edit not the exit level, but if we're hitting 85 risk score at $5 billion market cap, maybe I'm going to want to change that to 40% sell, right? Because things are getting way overbought, getting kind of parabolic a little quicker than I was anticipating, right? Or maybe it's hitting 70 at 5 billion. In which case, you know what? That could just be a very similar type of move that Doge was doing last cycle, hitting 70. It doesn't mean it's the top of the bull market, but it's absolutely a safe area to at least take some profits, right? And then let it consolidate. You have leftover of your portfolio, and you still have those risk mode alerts set in play, whether it's 80, 85, 90, and you have those areas to watch for. But this is kind of exactly where the power of the risk models come into play as it overlaps with price mode, because this is awesome. I did this in a very like old school way. I had like an Excel spreadsheet I covered on the channel, just taking profits and speculating like Cardano when to take profits. It helped me a lot to visualize, to have the plan, and it really held me accountable to just take profits, right? Don't just round trip a bull market. And this cycle is going to be completely different, because I think we all have a way more unique advantage as we have this data-driven system of these risk models now in play. And these risk models are unemotional. We're talking, these are consisting of our advanced risk algorithm, emerging asset theory, game theory, price, volatility, volume. So there's a ton of data going in here, and it really helps kind of put the emotion aside, but give some clarity in terms of the price speculation that we're doing, right? Because it's nice to look at a chart and it's nice to think, man, dog can make these moves, but all along the way, what is the risk, right? What's the risk there at 3.5 billion? What's the risk here at 20 billion? If it's 100, I'm selling way more than I might have been anticipating otherwise. So that is the power of the risk models. And this is kind of my approach to dog. I wanted to really just be upfront with you because right now, for all altcoins, as we get ready to potentially enter this bull market era, and you all know I've been covering the business cycles, there's a lot of patience involved here if we're going to get this move. But if we get the move, I think it is so important. And this cycle, I'm going to just be screaming way more. Take some profits. Take some profits. What do you think people are doing in markets in general? Stock market, crypto market, any market. People are taking profits, right? So have a plan, have a strategy. I'm incredibly excited and grateful to have this, this entire intelligence system. If you want to be in there with our members, please check it out. We have a massive sale still going on, 40% off. I mean, we are pre-bull. I'm keeping it there for a little bit, 40% off. So if you want to get access to this stuff and just kind of join us in the community and just trying to find and navigate our way, please do. And otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, please smash the like, hit the subscribe if you're not subscribed. I will see you in the next video. God bless.